I think this race is a give me to the Democrats. Bakari Sellers tweeted from CNN. He tweeted yesterday a simple thank you to Joe Arpaio for jumping in his Twitter on Twitter on yesterday. Joe Arpaio announced his candidacy for the Senate. And he essentially said that he's running for one reason and one reason only, and that is to help Donald Trump with his agenda to make America great again. But it's a big joke. But the reason I think this is a give me to the Democrats is because it's not as though Donald Trump is in good standing across the United States. That's number one. Two, historically, the swings after a particular president gets into office always goes in the midterms to the opposing candidate. As always, that's always historically been the case. But three, Arizona is not a slam dunk Republican state. Jeff Flake won his race by 5 points. And to be sure, 5 points is definitive, but that's not a comfortable seat. That's not a seat where Republicans can relax. John McCain, who he won his last race in I believe 2016, he won by 15 points, which is a pretty comfortable position. It's still a statewide race, so we can draw some comparisons between that race and Jeff Flake's race. But ultimately, John McCain is a household name in the echelons of the Clintons, right? So John McCain probably didn't have to run. Interesting enough, his seat will probably be up soon as well, just for other reasons. But, you know, this is not a slam dunk for Republicans with any candidate. And if you throw in Joe Arpaio being the criminal that he is, quite literally, you know, a pardoned criminal, the first person that Donald Trump pardoned was Joe Arpaio. He was found in contempt of court, criminal contempt of court, and was going to be sentenced to some time in jail. What's your boy? Donald Trump pardoned him. Excuse me, it's early in the morning. Donald Trump pardoned him. So he's a criminal, number one. But then two, he already has a long list of problems that are going to backfire on him, particularly when it comes to immigration. And this is where he was found in criminal contempt of court based on a Department of Justice report that went all the way back to 2011 and 2013. A judge ruled that he had to cease and desist with his racial profiling and his targeting of immigrants or targeting of minorities and immigrants. It's an interesting intersection there, but he refused to do that. And because of that, he was found in criminal contempt of court and he was to be sentenced. Donald Trump swooped in like granddaddy, white supremacist in chief, and pardoned him. Joe Arpaio is Arizona's Roy Moore. He's a criminal. He has, you know, a proven track record of bigotry and ignorance. And to me, let me rephrase it then. For the people who disagree with me on the Democrats, I will say that this is the Democrats' race to lose. All the indicators, Jeff Flake was not a definitive win enough for him to run again. Not in the primaries, nor in the general election against the Democrat. And so this is the momentum that the Democrats, this is the wind that's going to go underneath the Democrats. It's in their court to lose. Now, if you want to think of it that way, yes, the Democrats can absolutely lose this, because if anyone is up to the task, I would say the Democrats. Democrats are up to the task of losing this race. Okay, I will give you that. But there's nothing, absolutely nothing standing in the way of Democrats winning this seat except for Democrats. And I think we should all agree there. But the idea that Donald Trump has coattails, I think that's what I push back against the hardest. Donald Trump doesn't have coattails anymore. Donald Trump's reputation is crap. Donald Trump's achievements He's at a 33. The last I checked, I saw a number come across Twitter that said he's at 29%. The last time that I checked, and I guess I could check now with Real Clear Politics, but Donald Trump's approval ratings are so low, they're getting at a threshold where Republicans can legitimately consider primarying him without any serious ramifications. Of course, they'll face Donald Trump's Twitter timeline. But in terms of blowback from the citizens, Donald Trump does not have the support that he thinks that he has. And because of that, I think that this is a good indicator that Joe Arpaio trying to run on the coattails of Donald Trump is really a give me to the Democrats. It's theirs to lose. They are equal to the task. I will admit again, for the record, that he's equal to the task. The Democrats, rather, are equal to the task of losing against Arizona's Roy Moore. But it's theirs to lose. There's nothing in Arizona that indicates that I said Roy Moore, but there's nothing in Arizona that indicates that Joe Arpaio is the type of candidate that would be able to rise above the coattails that he's trying to ride in on. All right, so the Real Clear average of polls for Donald Trump, 56% disapprove, and he's actually up to 40% approval. So still a vast majority of Republicans. He's got a post-Christmas bump, but the vast majority of Americans disapprove of his performance. And with that being said, I think it's very important for Americans, not just Democrats, but Americans to galvanize and capitalize on this moment, to galvanize this moment and to capitalize on this moment, because historically, this is how it always goes. You're going to get that swing. So it's very important. I think the most critically important thing that we could do is divide the government in 2018. And this gives the Democrats another opportunity to pick up a seat that they otherwise could have lost very easily if they had. For instance, I think Jeff Flake might be making Jeff Flake, here's the problem, and this is the general problem that goes across every party, particularly the Republican Party, every election. Getting out of your primaries is the challenge. General election, Jeff Flake, as extreme as he is, because I don't believe in any, there's no such thing as a moderate Republican, right? There's no such thing as a moderate Republican, but Jeff Flake, compared to the primary that he would have had to face, appears moderate. And so the general election would have been something that I think Jeff Flake could have won again as for Senate in Arizona, but he can't get out of his primaries. The Arizona Tea Partiers, if they still call themselves that, but Arizona, the base, the fundamentalist base of the Republican Party in Arizona, they may not vote for Jeff Flake. They're going to vote for someone like Joe Arpaio, but Joe Arpaio is going to have a harder time in the general election. This does not mean that the Democrats can rest on their laurels. They're going to have to get out, all hands on deck, and pound the pavement and work just as hard. I mean, they're trying to turn a state that's been red for almost 30 years in terms of the Senate seats. It's been red just as long as Alabama was. I think the last Democratic senator from the state of Arizona was somewhere around 1977, 1987, one of those. And I know that's a big gap, but at least 1987. So we're talking about 30 solid years since there's been a Democrat. So the same type of effort that they took in Alabama to get the seat for Roy Moore, you get the same opportunity here, albeit Joe Arpaio, in so much as we know he's not a pedophile, but he's a convicted criminal. That's some pretty good fodder for Democrats to operate on.